Man, I'm good, brother. We haven't chatted in like a hot minute, man. It's been a while. Just so you know, I went ahead and went live anyway.
Cool, man. No, that's cool. I'm all about no safety net, no backup, no plan B, no fucking nothing, man. It's just balls to the wall. Let's just do this shit, you know?
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, you were just saying it before I went live, about how I was like, holding out on the podcast. We haven't talked in shoot 3 4
Months.
months. Yeah, it's been a while since we caught up, man. And
Yeah.
you're also live on Facebook too. And
Oh, cool.
next time we go live, for those of you watching on Facebook, we'll have a monitor so you can hear what I hear in here.
So how can I put this? How can I put this on my thing right now? How do I sort this shit out?
Yeah, if you share the link that I shared, it's on the live.
Okay, let me see. All right, I can see it. You're live. Let me just go to it, and I'll just go. Here we go. I'm about to share it to my fan, and say, "Here we go, fuckers."
You recognize that beat? If you hear it in the background, can you hear it on Facebook? Do 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 do.
Never heard it, man. Never heard it.
Take a walk on the wild
side. That's not Lou Reed, is it? No, of course not. Wouldn't be that, would it? Couldn't be.
Yeah.
Couldn't be that shit, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So anyway.
Ooh, come on, Jack.
I'm not a singer, man. I worked out earlier that I was not a musician. Singing, performing, I don't have a looks of the talent. Behind the scenes is where it's at for me, and thankfully it's been all right so far.
I'll say, I think you got to go all the way back to our first podcast where I actually listed all of the, well, I tried, not even all. I think I got like a third of the awards and accolades for the music you've mastered, and that won all kinds of awards, man. I mean, you've been doing this forever, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been very blessed. I really have. It's a funny thing, awards. I saw this beautiful quote that Morgan Freeman put up about awards, and he said that man makes the award, but God, I think, creates the reward. Or music is the reward, and awards are beautiful. Look, I don't want to discount awards or trivialize them, or sort of play it too cool for fucking school. Those things are great, and they're a beautiful embellishment, and they're wonderful in terms of giving you some kind of added credibility in the eyes of people and their perception. However, the mere fact that you can be doing the job you love day in, day out, and really enjoying the process of going through it, that really is where it's at. Everything else is just really just gravy, and it certainly isn't something that you just aspire towards, because I think that's the wrong reason why you would do anything. It's like people that do things because they seek validation. They're looking for love. They're looking for something to fill a perceived void within themselves. And I think if you're thinking strictly about awards, or there's nothing wrong with wanting to go for goals and aiming for things, and I applaud anyone that does that. But those things are just extras, Adam. They're just beautiful embellishments to have along the way, and they're lovely to have. But you know what? At the end of the day, man, if I was on the street and it's fucking minus 10 degrees outside and I'm fucking freezing, those awards, the first things that go in the fucking fire,
Yeah. How many years in music, man, has it actually been?
Well, as pretty much for 30, coming up to 35 years now.
Oh man, that's some time.
Doing music / entertainment kind of stuff. In terms of what I do as a master engineer, as an independent freelance guy. I started my own shop in 1991 during the recession that we had to have, as they called it back in the day. But look, man, it's been an interesting journey. It's been a lot of fun. Right now, I'm just very excited about the fact I'm going through a transitional phase. I still got studio. It's great. It's, you know, it still amazes me that in this current climate where music is so tough and competitive and budgets are shrinking, and it's tough. It's really tough, and a lot more people out there doing it. It humbles me that still to this day I can still do this. But I'm transitioning now, man. Not that I'm leaving this. This will always be here. But, you know, my passion right now is just wanting to reach out to kids, inspire kids, particularly artistic, creative kids, and inspire them and encourage them to pursue their creative, artistic endeavors, because society right now is, you know, I think for a long time culturally we haven't really encourage kids to become artists. For the most part, it's looked at as a hobby, a great side interest, but not as a legitimate job, career option. And look, no doubt about it, it is tough. It is not easy going down this path, but it is very rewarding. And unfortunately, a lot of kids shoot themselves in the foot because they give in to pressures from parents, peers, society telling them, you know what, you need to get a job, you need to get a 9 to 5 to get your regular 3 squares a day on the table, and then if you have time and money left over, then fine, you know, go ahead and, you know, have this as a great little side interest. But when you identify as a creative, artistic person, you just don't jive with this idea of a 9 to 5. You're going to have to do some of it along the way. As I tell a lot of kids, I had to hold down side jobs until I was 40 years of age before I got my business to a critical mass where I could say, I don't need to do this extra work now, and I can focus entirely on my mastering business and the music stuff. So, you know, that's, I think, is a non-negotiable part of the deal. You know, of course, there are some people that can get in very early if you're exceptionally talented, or, you know, you're just having a great streak of luck, which is going to be your responsibility anyway. You know, it can be done. But right now for me, Adam, it's about inspiring kids and telling them, look, you can do it. It is possible. And you owe it to yourself and the world to just go out and do what you fucking love, because that is everything.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of times, you know, especially in a lot of education systems, you know, music has been one of the first things to go in the United States system. I don't know how it is in Australia, but I mean, they cut music from many, many schools and departments. It's one of the first departments they cut. And
yeah, really it's no different here.
Yeah, go on. No, I was just saying there. I was finishing up. It's really disappearing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true here, and in this government here, particularly, which is a more conservative government, not as much about funding the arts as you know, the previous government that we had before. And so again, that's just a reflection on the value that mainstream society places on it. So, you know, but art in general, not just music. I mean, I'm talking about art in general, whether you do ballet, whether you're a sculptor, whether you paint, you're a writer, whatever.
But, you know, which is almost sickening in a way, because as a mass majority, in some fashion, most of our getaways or hobbies involve the arts in some fashion, right? Whether it's movies, music, or whether we do it or we like going to it. But yet it's the thing we educate less, and that we make, you know, not a path, you know, for education as it is the assembly line creation, right?
Yeah. I think also culturally we're not, you know, Australia as a culture in the context of the world is a very, very, it's very, very young. Now, if you look at Europe, let's take Germany, for example, you know, go to Berlin, and I've never been there myself, but I know a lot of people that have, and I'm reasonably familiar with how it operates there. And the government are supporting artists. They allow them to do their craft. There's subsidies, and it's valued. And hence why over the last 10 years or so, maybe more, there has been, it's become a bit of a mecca for artists around the world, musicians to go there. They can actually survive. I mean, I've got a friend who's a DJ over there, and he tells me he only has to do 2 gigs a month and he gets by. 2 gigs a month, man, you know, and he can get by over there, and he has a, you know, a relatively comfortable lifestyle. I mean, that's his break even. Okay. And of course, above and beyond that, there's more than 2 gigs a month for him. So he's living beautifully, and I think that's an ideal situation. But again, this is Europe, man. Europe have a much longer history than what we have over here, and art is something that they appreciate more. So maybe over time it'll change, man. I mean, we won't be around to see it, but we'll do our best in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, you see the internet being utilized a lot for creative, people getting their message, getting their art, getting their talent out there. You see the shows doing that. But where you work in the back end of music actually requires a little bit more of a specific education, right? So, I mean, there's no path necessarily to that, right? Over here, you got to go to some specialty, music school, which can be expensive as shit. Like back when I almost went to one, and then I priced it and I said, I could buy my whole soundboard and studio for the same cost, to go to those schools. But, if that's worked into natural education or free education, whatever,
Yeah.
I wonder what could be created nowadays,
Yeah, what we've lost here is the old system of the master and apprentice situation, and the internship, where you would, get yourself in the studio and soak in the actual environment. Now, there is a lot of formal education that has been for a long period of time, and it's interesting you raised this point, because I'm going to drop a video on Friday speaking about that. And what I will be doing is, you know me, man, I'm a positive guy. I don't like to shit can people. I would rather just put forth. I think it's great to criticize something, but unless you can at least put forth an alternative, even if you're fucking wrong and way off the mark, it's far better than sitting back and throwing pot shots at people or at a system or at a philosophy. And people are very quick to become armchair experts and just fucking throw their shit at stuff because it's easy. It's like, okay, well, you've identified something. Okay, motherfucker, what's the alternative? Give us something. Put something on the table that we can look at and we can scrutinize, because maybe you might have something. And if it's wrong, well, it doesn't matter. At least it's something that's considered. So this Friday, I'm going to drop a video just talking about that topic, about formal audio education. And I'm not against formal audio education. I have been involved in doing some lectures and workshops with some of these places, but where I think the system could improve upon is, it's great to give the kids a theory and understand, the technicalities and all that kind of shit, but they don't give them enough about people skills, which is probably the most important asset you're going to have, man. You need to have people skills. You need to be able to build relationships. This is a relationship economy, as my mentor Brad Burton would say. If people don't get to meet you, like you, know you, and trust you, you can be the greatest talent in the world, have the greatest hearing in the world, have a skill set that is unmatched by anyone. But if no fucker wants to sit in a confined space with you for an extended amount of time, for days or weeks, and they're not feeling you, man, you're not going to last very long. So teaching about people skills, teaching them about marketing, teaching them about, because, man, these schools sell the dream. Hey, come on to school, and then they put their glossy brochures out there sitting in front of a 40 million input, the solid state logic or Neve console, hanging around with Mick Jagger and fucking God knows, Kanye West and whatnot. And not to say that isn't possible. Of course, anything is possible, but the likelihood of that scenario is not that great. And so you get these starstruck kids who sign up 20, 30, 40K or more to do a course. They walk out with a piece of paper, and that paper is nothing. It really is nothing. It tells you that, yeah, you've been very good at being able to memorize a whole bunch of shit and get some stuff right in an exam and do some practical stuff. But when you throw that kid out in the real world and you throw him in the fucking cauldron, how's he going to operate? How's he going to market himself? How's he going to network? How's he going to do the real shit? How seasoned is he going to be? And so I think the formal audio schools now, and I'm sure that probably some of them they are doing some of it, but I'm only mentioning this because I see a lot of graduates come through wanting to come in. And as far as I'm concerned, man, I don't give a fuck about your degree. I don't give a fuck about your resume. People, Peter Sage would say, people hire on resume and fire on personality. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think I feel it's the same way. You know, people come with all this shit and I say, look, no disrespect, kid. I don't care about that. I want to find about you. What are you about? What do you got to bring? What do you have to offer? Where's your passion? Where's your dedication? Where's your spirit? You know, where's your attitude? Because I can take a kid with a great attitude, with no qualification, no nothing, and I can turn him into a monster. And I've already done it with a kid called Andre Ehrman, who's fucking tearing shit up. 23, 24 years of age. He's a motherfucker. You know, now, mind you, he did come out of a school and he was the dux of his class, but it wasn't that impressed upon me, okay? Right. You know, I mean, I didn't even care about that shit. I just cared about the fact this kid came up to me, demonstrated to me that he actually knew what he was talking about. He actually said to me, listen, I'm into mastering, and actually demonstrated to me that he did some of his own shit on his laptop. It wasn't that great, but it didn't matter. The fact is that it wasn't just sweet talking me, because that's a lot of kids do. Oh, I'm really into mastering. Oh, you got no idea. It's my life's fucking purpose. Blah, 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 blah. It's the classic love you, baby, need you, baby. I'll do anything, whatever it takes to get into your fucking pants. Yeah?
Yeah.
Not interested in that shit, man. But anyway, I think, you know, as I said, I'm not one who wants to shit can formal education, any schools, any of those institutions. But I think that if there was a greater emphasis and focus on giving these kids some direct exposure in studio environments, or teaching them about the importance of people skills, relationship skills, marketing themselves, and setting themselves up to run their own shop, because that's where most of them are going to end up, man. They're going to end up as freelance operators. So let's get these kids educated in as to how they can get themselves set up and empower them that way, and also work on their mental aspect, you know, the mental aspect, man. And the other thing too is belief in what they're doing, you know, the self-esteem. It's one of the big things I talk about, man, is about the importance of having a healthy self-esteem and the belief in yourself, man. Because if you can't feel it, that you are ready and you are worthy of doing this shit, no one else is going to buy into it.
Yeah, and there's got to be a fine line, I'm imagining, between, you know, the personality that you create, right? Because, you know, a lot of young kids are inundated with this arrogant, this is who I am, this is my ability, I'm a big star, and then try to put on this persona. And either, like you said, no one will work with them, no one wants to talk to them, but trying to cross that line between, you know, performing in that way, following that passion, being confident, but also, you know, being humble enough, right, to kind of learn and grow.
Yeah, man, humility is everything. I was very fortunate as a youngster that I got to meet some of the greatest engineers on the planet. And if there's one great lesson I learned from that, it's this, man. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And to have these motherfuckers open their door to me as a kid, they had no reason to want to see me. I mean, you know, guys who would be fucking working with the Rolling Stones one day and Madonna the next day, and just luminaries of the industry. And yet these guys were so fucking grounded, so down to earth, did not define themselves as their job. You know, these were just these guys who just loved what they did, had a passion for it, were grateful every day in the fact that they were doing it, and never, ever took that shit for granted, man. And were just beautiful. I mean, Rick Essig, my main mentor at what was the name? Frankfurt Wayne in New York City, who taught me how to cut vinyl. And he said to me, hey, man, 80% of this job is bullshit. To which I just looked around and, what do you mean? And he said, mate, this is a service industry. This is a service industry, and you need to know how to take care of people, look after them, make sure that all their needs are met, and just love the fuck out of them. And that is going to get you further than anything else. And Rick was a fucking master of that shit, man. I learned so much from that guy. He encouraged me to go out there, do my own thing, and he just practiced what he preached, man. And I'll always be grateful to him. Always be grateful to him, man, because he catapulted me and gave me that belief that I could go out and do my own thing, which I did. So, Rick, I love you. I will always love you, man. Thank you so much.
Well, I think that's important, man. You bring up, that mentorship, that teaching, and a lot of artists, that do make it tend to get a little more isolated, as if like it's my time, it's my record, it's my album, I wrote it. Instead of that mentorship idea of going, hey, as I'm coming along, let me teach someone else, let me find other artists, even, right, and kind of teach as they grow. I mean, you still see that mentorship happening in like today's younger generation of music.
Yes, look, I do. I think there is a lot of people on the ground level here doing it, helping artists, just because we don't see them online. I mean, I go out there online, I fucking, beat my fucking chest and carry on. But it does happen. It does happen, and it's encouraging to see. I just think, unfortunately, for a lot of young kids, I think that they're in a bit of a rush to want to monetize things and get things up and running really quick, and it just takes time. Like I said, man, it took me 21 years before I got to a point where I got to that level of a critical mass where I didn't need to do any other job. I think it's a non-negotiable. You're going to have to do some other shit on the side. But I think mentoring is in a healthy state. I think it's going to get bigger and better. That's something I certainly want to promote more and more of, because I was a great beneficiary of that, man. I had some of the best guys in the fucking world who were willing to offer me advice and input. No sense of, we have these certain fucking secrets or proprietary techniques or any of that. Very open, very willing to share. And so for me, in terms of what I'm doing, man, it's just paying forward that courtesy that was given to me. And so now at 53 years of age, I have a wealth of experience now, and I feel this sense of duty and obligation to share the knowledge and help these kids, not just with the technical aspects of it, but also in terms of the life aspects of it. Just again, show them, demonstrate to them how you run a session, how you deal with people, how you serve others, how to remain humble, how to, keep working at your craft and always get better at it, because you're always going to be learning. And you know what, dude? Some of these motherfuckers, these young fucking upstarts, man, have been my greatest teachers. I'll tell you now, young Andre here has come in and shown me some things that have now actually become part of my workflow that I never would have thought of, because kids now are embracing more technology. Back in the day, it was very analog. I still work in the analog domain predominantly. But these kids now who are very tech savvy, coming along and showing me a few bits and bobs, some great nuggets of fucking knowledge that have now become part of my workflow, So part of being a mentor is great to sort of go, yep, here I am with all the fucking knowledge, yada, yada, but also being open enough to listen to these kids too and take on board what they have to say. Because they got some shit.
Yeah,
they got shit too, man. They got some great shit here as well.
Yeah, dude, you're right on, man. I couldn't agree more. Is learning from those that you're helping a long way. You did mention something though earlier when you were talking about not letting what they do define them. And just like I talk about athletes, I think musicians and people in the industry are very much the same, to where they get this title of singer or producer, recorder. And, how do you help, or how would you help a kid or even an artist today kind of keep separate, not being defined by what they do?
I've been saying this for a very long time, and I say this to kids. Understand this. Character is who you are. Reputation is what people think you are. And they're two very separate concepts, man. So understand that first and foremost, you're a human being with the same feelings, fears, insecurities as anyone else. And you just happen to be privileged enough to be doing something that you love. Of course, that is a part of your identity, and identity is very powerful. But by the same token, I think if you take on the reputation upon yourself and think you are that reputation, which is a perceived thing, that can be a slippery slope. And you can see how it happens to athletes after their careers. I mean, how many times do we hear about NFL players going broke, becoming alcoholics, drug addicts, homeless, guys who have made 20, 30, 40, 50 fucking $1 million. We have an epidemic here in Australia, musicians, who were famous back in the day now, washed up and broke. We now have this epidemic of electronic artists who are huge international DJs, successful guys rocking stadium, 20, 30 fucking thousand people at gigs. And now so many of them are just crawled in out of nowhere, hitting the fucking pipe, just tragic, mate. Fucking tragic, because they took on that thing of like, oh, I'm this person, and now all of a sudden, no more adulation, no more love, and no more groupies, and no more free drugs, and all this kind of shit. So I just tell kids, just remember, who you are as a person first and foremost. It's a privilege to be doing this, and don't allow yourself to be swept up in all the bullshit. Like I said, man, I saw that as a kid from some of the greatest fucking engineers on the planet. They were grounded, they were humble, they were aware of who they were, they understood the responsibility behind what they were doing, excited about what they were doing. But at the end of the day, man, you know what? They were just regular fucking blokes doing their thing.
And did most of these guys, the classic masters, man, yourself and new kids you see coming up, is it kind of like they have their own style? There's not like a right way to do it, as opposed to like they have their own, sound to it, if you will?
I don't think, no, this is art, man. There's no right or wrong way. It's your way. And that's the way you should do it. I think it's great to be influenced by other people, but ultimately you need to be true to yourself. And, I dropped a video that went viral almost a year ago where I talked about this, where here in Australia, a lot of artists want to get their stuff. Like, getting on radio is really hard. And we have a national broadcaster called Triple J, it's a government-run station. But they're national and they're very influential, and getting airplay on them can be very helpful. And, I was getting all these artists coming through just saying, do you think we'll get on Triple J? Yeah. And I had one week where I had 3 fucking days in a row of this come to me, and I just said, does it really fucking matter? Who cares what Triple J thinks? What do you think? You're an artist, man. You're not going to make much money, if anything, off doing your art. So you're spending time and energy creating something that you love. Why would you want to try and compromise or second guess what the radio is going to want? And even if you drop something today, who's to say that by the time it gets out there and it gets to the radio, they may be looking for something new. They may be, do you know what I mean? You cannot predict this kind of shit. So just do what you love what you do, be happy in what you do. Now, if Triple J happen to pick up on it, that's a fucking bonus. And I think there's something contrived about that. Now, if you're an artist who is from the get-go saying, okay, our goal is we are going to try and create something specifically for this market, and that is your gig, then, God bless you, more power to you. But for most people, that's not their thing, mate. So I think it's just important that, as I said, there's no right or wrong way, mate. It's your way. So long as you're enjoying the process and you're being true to yourself, that's all that fucking matters.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists. There's even this thing going on in hip hop, if you will, right now, where it's this, I hate even saying old school, but it's really I would call them the professionals really of hip hop, are really kind of in this debate with these new hip hop lyricists. Supposedly lyricists would not be the word. I'm biased already, but it's this separation between artists going, look, if the crowd or the masses want me to make a song that sounds like this, I'll do that, because then it just does that, rather than like this garage band that's just playing their sound, doing their thing, that gets, finally, gets hit playing your authentic self. And there's a new low-hanging fruit, only over, I don't know how many years, but there's this low-hanging fruit of going viral. You know what I mean? That didn't exist until the last, 10 years or less, where it's probably less than that, to where, you could put out something and then all of a sudden, holy shit, it's a deal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, man. It's interesting. You bring up the word authenticity, and that's an interesting word, because as I've learned, this last year of my life, Adam, has been the most profound year in terms of my growth as on an emotional, spiritual level, and I've come to a conclusion now, and that is the meaning of life is to be authentic in whatever you do, and authenticity is binary. You cannot try to be authentic, because by definition of trying, you're already being inauthentic, because you're trying, as opposed to just being comfortable in your own skin, and where your heart and mind, or your heart and your mind are aligned, and people pick up on that, man. That's a feel thing, and it's something that I struggled with for a long period of time, because I was, for virtual lifetime, man, just putting up a facade, and I became so good at it, but I'd always get frustrated and go, fucking hell, you know, I said the right things, I thought I did this, and why is it that I'm just not getting all the gigs I want to get? And then once I had the revelation, I realized, well, I wasn't being authentic. And people can look at you in the way you deal with them, and they think, yep, it all looks and sounds good, and it's all fucking presented well, but there's going to be a little something there that maybe you can't define, but it's just enough to put you off. And that's because your head is saying one thing, and your heart is saying, hey, motherfucker, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And it's an energetic thing, and people pick up on that, man. I mean, people crave authenticity, but people find it hard to be authentic because they just can't accept themselves for who they are. They don't love themselves enough to say, look, I'm a unique expression of life. There's nothing fucking wrong with me. And we've been conditioned that way, bro. And again, this is why this is one of the main messages I want to get out to kids, is to be your authentic self and love yourself enough to realize you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely hard in the world on two sides, that, in the entertainment business, being almost having to be more authentic, right? More outstanding, if you will, wear the hair a little higher, the clothes a little louder. There's almost this inauthentic push to be louder, to be seen, to get noticed, rather than, somebody just, I don't know, just kind of making it based on their love for the music, being who they are, rather than playing all these, certain tricks. And there's, from even self-help to music, you see all these how-tos, these, just follow it this way and you'll make a hit record. Follow it this way and you'll get rich. Follow it this way and everything will be better in your life. And I just don't think that's possible. I think because we live something so authentic to our own perception that, to say these are the steps too, almost filters your authenticity out along the way in some fashion.
Yeah. It's interesting, I've been taking an interest in personal development for a while now, and probably the last year or two, I've really delved into it quite deeply. And I've been very fortunate that I've been mentored by a guy called Peter Sage, who is all about the authenticity. And it's interesting, when you go and see someone speak at a seminar, how you feel that person on stage when they're speaking from their heart. They're speaking their truth. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to agree with everything they're saying, but you feel it, as opposed to the people that are there very, very polished in their performance, well rehearsed, and all that kind of thing, man. And I've the more I've been looking into personal development, the more I'm feeling that so much of it, man, is just bullshit. I think there's well-meaning in it, but personal development, the way I see it, is based on a premise that tells you that you're fucked up.
Yeah.
And that you need to be fixed.
Or optimized.
You don't need to be fixed, motherfucker. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. And so they're going to come up with all this fucking different courses and gobbledygook. And don't forget about the upsell. I was like, hey, man, I got no problem with people monetizing their shit, because a lot of guys that go out, they spend a lot of money doing courses and they study. And so, man, I have no problem with people monetizing their shit. But it's just that classic fucking upsell that you see. And again, just based on this thing that, well, here's something for you, but if you want the real shit, come over here and fucking, do this and do that. But again, until they start with, and this is what I loved about Peter, man. This is what I so loved about Peter, because Peter started off with saying, there's nothing wrong with you. Just let's get this out of the way. You were born a miracle. You were fucking perfect. You were 14 million to 1 fucking chance of being here. You've already won the race. You got nothing else to prove, fucker. So go out there and find your gift and share it with the world. And so teaching, helping me and others how to facilitate a process to find that and go out and do that, as opposed to, you're fucked up. You are your story, your previous story. Let's fucking try and mend all the pieces together. It's like, fuck that shit, Adam Lowery. That's bullshit. The industry needs a fucking shake up. So many people are in this fucking industry, and I don't want to say I'm part of that industry, but in the personal development game, because they are seeking validation themselves. They feel a fucking void within themselves, and so they need people to come up to them and say, "Oh, you're so fucking wonderful. Oh, you're fucking," preying upon the vulnerability of many people. Yeah, rather than fucking let's empower you. Let's fucking get rid of the fucking story. Get off your victim story. This is all fucking bullshit. It's the past. It's happened. It can't come back to fucking hurt you unless you decide that you want it to hurt you more, or because you feel comfortable in that fucking space. And the more I look into it, the more I see that kind of shit, and I reject it, man.
Yeah, we can take you that far, but if you're going to have to upgrade to the platinum membership, and then we can let you in on, the 8 secrets that you have to do daily, every 8 seconds per day, 8 times when you're doing the 8 activities of, you know what I mean? Like, I get what you mean about the upsell, and frankly, I see it. It's everywhere, and I'm with you. And it's hard to begin to separate between, eventually, is this the product or is this the passion? You know what I mean? Is this a creative way of a team that's been assembled to pitch a product in a much more, let's say, cerebral way, as a, you know what I mean, as opposed to, really bringing something authentic, right?
Yeah. Look, man, I can understand where there's so much to learn, and you can go balls deep into learning. And it's like with anything, there's basic stuff you start with, and then if you want to go down a deeper line of inquiry, then you can. But I think it's just the way it's done. It's not so much about what is there. It's just the way it's done, the way it's presented. There's a lot of fucking psychology that goes into it, man. You see how they run, seminars where they fucking break people down, and there's a lot of fuckery that goes on. A lot of fuckery, and people aren't aware of it.
You said something important, man, about the way it's approached. I talk about in my book, right, is if let's say you're about to buy a new Corvette and you're out there and all of a sudden you're going to see an influx of Corvettes. No, that didn't happen in your town. You're just looking for it. And I think I even use the example. You go on a date and you're really looking for love, right? And oh my God, we ordered the same thing. We like the same drink, even though the menu only had 2 choices, right? And you're looking for it. And so if you're looking for something and you're open to that looking for anyway, we basically find what we're looking for anyway by creating that perception. And I'm with you that some people, offer great help and good ideas. And I'm with it that there is no necessarily one path to how you do it. And there's a lot of voices, different things catch with people. You're right. But after a while, you do start to get to see this. I referenced it to a day, the day that CDJs came out. At one point, there were DJs, and those DJs spun records, and they sent them to guys like you to cut them. And you know what? We always send them to Europe because you guys cut it. Was it like a diamond cut you guys used? And that was more Europe, not Australia. But I can't remember, man. It was a long time ago, many drugs ago. But anyway, and then all of a sudden the CDJ was invented, and everyone was a fucking DJ. You know what I mean? And it lost its I don't know, talent. You had to work at something. You just match, sync, and press play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see that I've compared that now to what you talking about in personal development. Is everyone has their blog, their brand, and I'm guilty. I'm the fucking dude. Like, and I know it. I say that with awareness. And you see that, but I feel like I was spinning vinyl, and then all of a sudden CDJs came out at some point, and it's like, holy shit, man. And you're proud of people. You're like, holy shit, it's great. And I learned so much from so many people. But you're right. You can dive down those rabbit holes. And what I've spoke to a few people doing some mental training on the phone is like, look, the deeper you go, you have to be aware. You also can begin to get really alone because you start to be aware of things that people you hang out with are not. You start to care about things, and other things in your life drift away. I talk about it. It's almost like becoming this lone wolf. You know what I mean? As you go down those rabbit holes of those, changing your beliefs, awareness. It's a real lone wolf thing, man. And it comes real. It's a difficult, path to walk.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you, man. And look, there's definitely a lot of people, like you said, and I'm just as guilty as you, man. I just do my blog and I do my thing, and it all, I guess, falls under that personal development, umbrella, if you will. But man, I like to think that at least what I'm putting out there it's heartfelt, it's honest, and it just simply is. I see myself more, to be honest, as a storyteller, Adam. I'm just telling my story. I'm just sharing my experience and offering things for people to consider. They don't have to believe what I'm saying. They don't even have to do what I'm saying, but they could try and test it out for themselves. Because when I started shifting in terms of my mindset and got down to some fundamental basic things, which all starts with, there's nothing fucking wrong with you, and you're perfect, and you're a divine expression, and you're beautiful, and you do have a gift that the world wants to fucking experience, and you just embrace that first. From that foundation, man, then you can start doing shit, and people align with that, man. People want to hear more of that. People want more honesty. People want to hear not just about, it's great to be able to say, well, come to my seminar because, I made $1 trillion 3 nanoseconds after my dad shot his load into my mom. Yeah. And that for some people can be very fucking intimidating, man, because they look at someone like that and just go, the fuck, how do I compare myself to that? How do I ever even get near that shit? That's like jumping over Everest, fucking sitting on your ass. Right. Without even swinging your arms. Yeah. So as opposed to, not to say that you can't be successful and show some success, but also how about your failures, man? Tell us about how you fucked up. Tell us about, because that's where the lessons in life are, man. That's where it's in your darkest hours. They say the value is in the valley. So when you're in that shit hole of a place where things aren't going great, where you've lost a heap of money, you've lost a relationship, you've fucked up. You've absolutely fucked up, where most people are wanting to gloss over that, not share that shit because of feelings of shame, or feeling as if, well, if I start talking about the fact that, I embezzled money, or I spent all this shit, or I spent all my money on coke and hookers, or I cheated on my wife, or I blew all this fucking cash, or ripped off this, whatever you fucking done, man. Nobody's got the monopoly on pain, and nobody has a fucking halo over their fucking head. Yeah. And the minute you can own that shit and tell people, hey, I fucked up, this is where I went wrong. But when I started doing this or started doing that, started changing my thoughts and my actions, everything else started to change. That gives hope to people, because most people come to these seminars already feeling like shit, already feeling guilty, already feeling down, defining themselves by their failures and their non-successes and whatnot in life, looking for fucking answers, man. They're all looking for fucking answers, and the answers are in you, and that's what you need to be told. You got it all in there inside you, man. And people to be told, I get it. I walked in those fucking stilettos. I know the pain. I know the fucking embarrassment. I know the shame. I know the guilt. Yada, yada, yada. But you know what? That's in the rearview fucking mirror, cunt. We're looking forward now. Yeah?
Yeah, I say a lot of times, if you're constantly growing, right, then we can't know, excuse me, when we can't know who we are. And so to claim to be, authentically who we are then is truly not to know who we are at any time, because we're always growing, changing, learning new things, right? So to claim this authenticity is to claim that we know who we are, as opposed to just being in the moment, being in the thoughts, the observations of it, and trying to be authentic. And I think because of so much, exposure to songs, music, videos, personal development, people, blogs, I think because of it, people are craving authenticity, right? I think somehow people that use YouTube, iTunes, all Stitcher, these things to listen to podcasts, whatever, and shows, I think they almost got this really good bullshit filter built up, from all the fake pictures and, images that are fucked up and, messed with. There's like this magical BS filter people seem to have, and they crave this authenticity. They're craving things that are funny, but, kind of real, not set up, right? I mean, there's like a crazy, crave for content that's authentic, people that are authentic, stories that are authentic, even stuff that's authentic, like handmade, authentic stuff, right? I mean, you're seeing this craving for this authenticity, almost as if like we're becoming personal aware for our own craving for authenticity within ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the authenticity you need to find is your own first, mate. And then you'll attract more of it in your life. It's amazing how, like I said, the last year's been the greatest year of my life in terms of my emotional growth. And as I began to release all of my bullshit, and still I'm in the process of doing so, I've been able to attract a better peer group, because peer group's important too, man. I remember when Peter talked to me about the people that you hang with, and my immediate response, in my mind was, oh, this sounds a bit elitist. I'm what, all of a sudden I'm better than you,
Right.
And that was the initial thing. And then eventually I got over that and realized what he was trying to say. And that is that you are, well, Jim Rohn, what did he say? You're the average of the 5 people you hang out the most, or words I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not exactly going verbatim, but it is so true, man. When you hang around a certain kind of person, it's gonna rub off on you, and you will, irrespective of where they are. If they're guys who are go-getters and they're successful, and they're doing really cool things in life, you will end up like those people. If you're on the other end of the spectrum,
Oh, sorry, man. You gave me this huge, where people mess up a lot of times there is they're not hanging out with bad people. Essentially, is they're hanging out with people that they were friends or used to, and they're trying to help them. And so like in that brew, if you will, of trying to help somebody that you shouldn't be around, is where a lot of people also, I think, should be included. You know what I mean? People kind of discard that. Oh, I just try to be in their life to help them out. Well, that's got to include in the 5 that you average yourself in. You know what I mean? Because that can anchor your development down too.
Yeah. But you can't rescue people either, though, Adam.
Bam.
You can be well-intentioned to try and hang out and help people out, but everyone's on their fucking journey, man. And that was a classic thing I did. People that go out and always trying to help and go out of their way, it's a beautiful and noble thing, no doubt. But in my experience, the most part, it got me into more trouble than anything, because it was, no one really wanted to be rescued. It was just who needed the rescuing. Yeah. I was the one that needed the rescuing first, And when that was presented to me, that was like, whoa. That was a truth bomb that really shook me to my core, that one. But it was true. And once I got over that, trying to fix everyone else up, how about looking at myself first? How about getting my shit together? And then I come from a place where I can help from an overflow, from my abundance. It's the same thing with love, when it's like that conditional love that people, give each other. I will do for you if you do something for me, or you complete me, all this, you finish my sentence, all this kind of bullshit, man. Rather than, I love myself, I'm fine as I am, I have enough to give from an overflow, and that's what people are attracted to.
A lot of people use the relationship to fill themselves up the rest of the way, as opposed to, I like the overflow idea that you're talking about, that when we have enough to overflow, we begin to bring people in our lives, and, hopefully they're overflowing, right? We don't want to be filling other people up. I think that's that difference that, between needing somebody and wanting somebody, there's a huge variation, a stark difference there, I think, in relationships.
Yeah, man. I think, again, until we are in a place where we are comfortable in our own skin, we can spend time with ourselves, and we can make ourselves our own best friend, then we're not going to be able to contribute fully into the lives of other people, because there's no reliance. You don't come from a place of, I'm lacking, I have a void, and therefore I need you, like a jigsaw piece to make the picture complete. You're already complete as you are, But again, a lot of people really struggle with that. When you tell them, hey, there's nothing wrong with you, you're perfect, you're beautiful. That I see when I talk to kids, it's amazing the look on their face. Some of them almost cringe. It's like, what do you fucking mean, man? I mean, ooh. There's so much self-loathing that they have, that they find that difficult to accept. But you've got to accept it, man. And until you get to that point where you can embrace it and not just intellectually understand it, I mean, know it to be true. Again, we're talking about the heart and mind aligning together, working as one. You know it, you own it. People see it, they feel it straight away. Yeah, this guy's fucking, he's on it. I believe what he's saying because he means it, he feels it, But again, man, you gotta have it in here. It's a knowing. It has to be just this calm knowing that it's true. Not arrogance, not fucking, again, because the arrogance and the putting on the show is bullshit. And people pick up on that, don't they?
Yeah, man. You make my mind branches out in so many ways, I think kids are, they're programmed a lot to judge themselves. They live in a world, I think, that matches, they can research competence, tools, strategies, what's out there, what's real, what's not. But I think what comes with that is also having to match the other force with that, if you will. And they're inundated, there's a rise in teenage anxiety experiencing all the way up to severe anxiety. And they're inundated with, you're not a complete person until, they're given this checklist is until you have the college degree, until you have this, once you've made a hit album, once you've sold 1 million copies, once you've, pick it. And so they give them so many checklists. And us as adults, individuals, we have these same checklists of, here's my bucket list of things I have to do, shit I have to buy, experiences I have to have. As we build these checklists in our lives, we pass them down to our kids, which is performance based. And I think a lot of people, you're so right, Tony, man, is they go, I can be happy when once I perform and I get this checklist, once I've had this travel experience, then, right? And we live our lives by this checklist of to do, and then we'll be. And I think many people do, especially kids, you're right, because they're exposed to so much marketing. And let's face it, the real idea of marketing, and like you said, right, for personal development, is to say, hey, you're not fully you. From prescription pill commercials to personal development book sales, right? It's telling you that you're not full. You got to buy this Corvette. You got to have this house. You got to travel to Rome at least once. Here's the experience of college, right? They give you a checklist of these things that until you've had this, you've never had life so good, right? And I mean, it's built for everything from tennis shoes to everything. Marketing is basically that, telling you your life is not complete until you have my product, my thing, my way. And the kids are killed with it, right? I don't think there's anything left on the planet that has not been branded or marketed somehow, in some way. And so the kids apply that to themselves, and they even brand themselves. I'm learning disabled. I'm ADD. I'm a creative, right? They label themselves. It's inundated, man. And it's a tough world out there to begin to separate yourself from who you really are at a young age. And even as we get older, man, as our identities change, as we become fathers or husbands or even widows and sad shit, right? As this happens, our ID transfers. It's such a chaotic but yet perfect symmetry of things we know will happen,
Yeah, no, you're right. And you're spot on about that whole idea of the checklist, and where people need to get to a certain point that so-and-so, that Mr. Apple or Mr. fucking whoever tells them, you got to have this, you got to be this, you got to have, this kind of car and this kind of wife or husband and live in this neighborhood. But then the thing is, okay, so you get that. Then what? What's next? There's always going to be something. Why is it that guys who make $1 million will never be happy with $1 million because they need to have another 2 or 3 million in case they lose one? You've got, dude, I bumped into a guy, recently, very wealthy, very successful guy. And you could see it in him, man. He's just unfulfilled. He just feels like he needs more and more and more rather than just being happy in where he was and where he was at. Let me share you a beautiful metaphor that Peter Sage told me, and I've racked my brain to try and find something similar, but fuck me, he's nailed on this one, where he talks about the curse of the white rabbit. Now, I gather you guys have greyhound racing over in America?
Yeah, they still do in some shady places around the corner, around the train track somewhere.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay, so these dogs are chasing a white rabbit that they're never going to fucking catch. And all those things, fame, fortune, money, girls, what have you, is that white rabbit. Now, of course, the sport, the game, if you will, is set up that these dogs will never catch that fucking thing. But the dogs don't go away at the end of every meeting and say, fuck this, I'm not going back next week because I can't catch the bastard. Right?
Yeah.
They're just happy fucking running because that's what they were born to do. That's what they're here for. That's their purpose in life. And so once you find that purpose, it doesn't matter then about awards and fucking, we touched on this before early on about awards and shit. It's not about that stuff, man. It's just about the fact that you are here doing what you love doing. You're in the moment and being present, just, indulging in your passion. And they don't sell that ideal to people. They're not saying that you're good enough doing that it's fine, you're okay, and you find the way you are. So by putting all this external shit rather than putting the focus on the internal, and because it all starts in there, man. Because your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. So if your inner world is not in a good place, or you're not generating healthy, positive thoughts about life, and that's not to say it's this bullshit positive all the time fucking delusional kind of shit, but on the whole, man, you just are cultivating good positive thoughts, then that is going to be reflected back to you like a mirror. That's how it fucking works. The ancient traditions talk about this from thousands of years ago, man, but they don't promote this stuff. For the most part, they don't. It's like we're seeking validation externally. We're seeking our joy externally. And it's this fucking situation where you'll never get there. And so you'll never be fulfilled. And you will just go to your grave being unhappy, always finding something that you're going to be completely unhappy about, never ever once stopping to take an inventory of what you have, to be grateful for where you are and what you have in life. Even if it's just as basic as the fact that, you've got a body that is fucking sound, and you don't need breathing apparatus when you get up in the morning, and you can chew food and you can see the sunset. I mean, I know these may seem like very small, trivial things, but man, you end up, you go to hospital bed and be encased in fucking plaster for 6 months and then fucking talk to me about it. Not that I've been in that situation, but you know what I mean? It's just, it's just about perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people, look, if you take for just a second, imagine any checklist, either one that you have from the day or this, a lot of people in the United States got this house checklist, right? You buy the house, either you custom built it already or it's add-ons, right? It's Home Depot weekends, it's remodel, right? They have this checklist. Imagine it's your house, or imagine it's your career, or a checklist of things, and you just immediately remove the checklist and watch how there's all of a sudden no stress. If you go, all right, I don't have to have this. I don't have to experience this. And in America, they've gotten really good in marketing about getting the idea of buying stuff. They've really started pulling that. They got more on the idea of have this experience. You got to have this experience, and people tap into now that, yeah, I need experiences like that to call my life fulfilling. And again, it's just another secretive checklist helped built subconsciously by a marketing force that makes most of us feel like we're inadequate just unless we buy their thing.
Yeah. Memories and experiences, man, that's my currency. I came into the world fucking butt naked. I'm going to check out pretty similarly, man. If there's anything I leave behind, that's great. But, I think as I get older, I've just always said, I just want to be able to recall beautiful memories, beautiful experiences, beautiful relationships with people. And interesting how that shit, it's all intangible, and I mean, yes, okay, you could say, well, I had to spend a certain amount of money to go to Cancun and have a great holiday, for sure. But for the most part, it's not just the acquisition of material things. It's about just nice dinners with friends, great conversations like we're having right now, and having that recorded and captured. That, not that I'm going to sit back and I'm going to fucking sit and play it over and over. I'm not that narcissistic, but but it's going to be there. And maybe one day I will, who knows? Maybe I will want to relive that. But by doing that, and what does it cost? Fuck all.
Yeah, I
Fuck
figured
all.
if I can compile a good enough library, if we ever do reach the transpersonal age, right, where I can upload consciousness, if I do lose my mind, at least I can always download all of my interviews that I ever had with everybody, and at least have that little bit of knowledge to go on for a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So listen there, Adam. You're gonna have to forgive me, man. I don't know how long we've been going, but I've got to go off and do some work and shit, man. But
Yeah, man.
I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to chat with you. It's always a pleasure, and I love the fuck out of you, man. Thank you so much.
No, I love you too, brother. And let's not wait 3 months next time before we chat, man.
No, you got it, man. You got it. Well, we'll stay in touch. Thank you again. Thank you to anyone that took the time to check us out today. And as I always say to people, mate, be nice to each other, but more importantly, be nice to yourselves. All right.
Oh, dude, love it, man. See ya.
Love you, fucks. Take care of yourself, bro.
Bye.
Later, dude.
That is one guy that I love, man. Him and I have shared some good conversations, some personal stuff, between each other. We've check. I'm gonna try something. Hold on, man. We're still watching. Right? I'm gonna try to do this post-show live thing. Oh, love. Why is live's always love, right? When you're doing the thing, well, we beep it, and so you can go live in there and in here. We are a post-show Cognitive Rampage live. Jack and I, we've talked so many times where we're able to almost finish like thoughts because we've explored for hours sometimes, different ideas, especially when I was writing my book because, he's over in Australia. So the nighttime, over here. So I'd be up certain times and we'd expand on certain experiences and, theories or ideas. And, so sometimes when we're chatting, if it sounds like we're kind of moving from here to there to whatever, yeah, it's because we chatted a while. But the personal development thing, it's definitely hard. It's weird in that industry. I talk to people in the industry that are have shows that dwarf my show, and they feel the same idea. They feel alone a lot of times. They feel it's product driven, right? We have to sell you something, buy something. I mean, I said on the show, I'm as guilty, right? You can buy the book, right? It's kind of a part of what it does, right? But it's like everybody's a DJ now, right? So for me, the show will always be and remains for me not about me telling you to buy the book or do it my way. Is really me living what I say in the book, right? Trying to be authentic is the idea is like, look, what I tell you is part of the, living this way, or which becomes your own way anyway. It's not like my step by step, but is putting it in practice, right? So for me, it's competence, learning new things. So as I book new guests, right, we take suggestions from the Tribe of Change and other people. But for me, it's where my interest follows, right? There's like an inventory that I do in the book. It's called the IDE inventory. So if I find a small interest in something, I look how much time I'm putting into it, right? Can I create experiences as I'm getting competent in whatever that topic is, hobby is, or thing is? So, I find people along the way, videos or research or articles, things like that. And that's how I find people. And Tony actually, shit, if you look all the way back, he's been on the show like 4 times. He may have been on the show more than anybody. But we haven't talked in a few months. But, he's always bringing some inspiration, bringing some love, never scared to just say it how he feels it, right? How he thinks it. And in the music industry, I know a few people in it. And I think that dime he dropped about Germany for developing artists these days was pretty cool. So if you're a developing artist, whether you're a mixer, master, DJ, band, whatever, apparently there's this thing in Germany, right, where you're supported by a lot of government things where you're free to kind of do your thing. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's like the rush of I don't know, 76 or out in San Francisco, right? Or something older, maybe the Austin Rush. There was that Seattle grunge years as well. I don't know. Maybe there's something in Germany too. I don't know, but it's a tough business. He dropped a lot of points about not trying to make things for necessarily like, what would a marketer tell you, right? Are you making music? What's your target market? So if we shape the art that we do based around the target market, is the show that we do that authentic, or is it really been created and designed for a target market, right? There's films that do that, there's books that do that, and there's giant corporate machines that stand behind these personalities, behind these blogs, behind these brands. And how the machine is run on the size of the machine, if you will, masters how much product is sold, how much is needed to push. But um they create it based on, hey, here's what we've learned in our analytics and our research. Here's a market that's missing. Here's what they listen to. If we can pull this, and I mean, you see that, right? So I think, like I said on the podcast earlier, is there's this wave of people online through social media, YouTube, etc., that are getting this bullshit filter, right? That they're able to be like, that picture's not real, that video's not real, that person is walking in front of rented Ferraris, or they're pitching me another step-by-step, right? Another, if you follow my workout plan 1 2 3, or if you follow, you see a lot of that. And it's hard not to just build a cognitive dissonance to shut it out, not just to go, hey, both of us, Tony and I both said, the change is within the person, and it's on you, to make that change. That made a lot of why I stopped doing therapy within clinics, because I couldn't see a future of saying, hey, here's how you change your life, here's how I help you, when I know it's about the person making the choice. When you decide to make the choice, to make the change, to make things different in your life, basically when you're deciding to say that, hey, the truth I've accepted is only that because I've accepted it, it kind of became hard, right? And I mental train a specific area with people, but the book isn't even written, if you will, for specific people. Like, it's not for addiction, or it's for people to discover, I don't know, their authentic self. Really, it's not a step by step. I don't tell you step 1 to do step 2. It's you asking yourself questions. It's you revealing your own beliefs. A lot of people don't even know why they believe what they believe. So I can't say that it's not me showing you the way, so to speak, right? So I don't belong in that group that says my way is the best way, is the only way. I basically am saying the way that I found is this framework that you got to ask yourself these questions and apply this to find out your own way. That's why I call it living your cognitive rampage. So when I do say I hope you're taking care of you, and I hope you're living your cognitive rampage, I don't mean I hope you're living the one that I'm telling you to live. It's the one that you reveal when you're willing to put in the work and question you and do the hard stuff, which is really question you, fix you, not those around you, not blame those around you, focusing more on the internal locus of control perspective of life, doing the hard thing, which is truly questioning what you believe and even discovering what you believe. That's really what that means. So I hope you're taking care of you. Hope you're living your cognitive rampage. Thanks, Tony, for coming on the show. Man, excuse me. Love you, dude. Love you, everyone out in Australia, too. Shout out again to all my friends out there, all the Tribe of Change people in Australia to New Zealand. Love you all. Couple updates. I can tell you, though, the second revision of this book, the second edition, comes out in January. You'll never be able to buy this book like this again. We've cleaned it up, added some things, expanded on some theoretical perspective. But so this book will be a limited edition. That's why I made it $10 instead of 15. But the second edition will be out sometime in January, aiming for the 17th, maybe a little earlier. It's hard to really pinpoint it, since you're trying to kick it out the same time it gets done. But the second revision of the Cognitive Rampage will be out January. The audio book will also come out around the same time as the second edition, and the last chance that you can buy it like this will be done. So anyway, that's January. Dollar Mental Health Club is also coming back. We finished the alpha test from June till about September, and then we pulled Dollar Mental Health Club down, and it's coming back. We adjusted things. We learned some things from the alpha test. The beta test begins in January. We'll probably officially launch it in February, run it February to March, right into April. But there's some new changes. It's not targeted workouts. It's getting good. It's getting really good. It's a slow grind. That's been the saying for me and for us around the Cognitive Cave over the last couple of weeks. Really, it's a slow grind, right? It's sometimes I said the other night, somebody asked me how the podcast, how everything's going. And I say, I feel like I'm trying to cut through a diamond mine with a spork. You know what I mean? Like I'm just scraping and you keep going, right? And you keep going. And if it's something you love, you can keep scraping, even if it is just a spork through a diamond mine, right? But I'm gonna get through there eventually. But anybody else, man, excuse me, anybody else, I urge you just keep going. The Dollar Mental Health Club's coming out. We're just trying to, we will be providing a paradigm shift in mental health. And what I mean by that is 60% of the United States, give or take, is uninsured, right? So they have no medical coverage. Essentially, they have emergency rooms to visit. The last thing they're paying for is mental health help, right? So what we are doing with the Dollar Mental Health Club is bringing that to people, bringing people real mental health training. That's what we call it. It's not therapy. We're not talking about your childhood. We're not dealing with diagnosis and prescriptions. It's mental health training. We practice in the present, right? And we're going to have specialists, all kinds, right? It's going to be crazy, but it's all $1 a minute. That's it. Like, and you pick how long you want to do a session. No, you don't have to go to a waiting room, nothing. And it's just trying to get people something, something to where they can begin to, grow, take care of their mental health, right? Our physical health many times reflects our mental health a lot of times. So people work on their physical so much and wonder why they transition. They go up and down, they get healthy, they get unhealthy, right? I would venture to say because the mental health needs some training. And so the way we do that is offer strategies, right? This isn't like a bitch session where you're going to get on and be like, hey, my life, oh shit, it's sorry, I hate my aunt, whatever. That's not what this is, right? It's not crisis management either. You're not calling Dollar Mental Health Club because you're in a dark state. It's the idea of trying to learn a strategy that you can apply, not somebody giving you a lot of hype motivation, right? Well, talking about things that really you can't apply. But it's getting real strategies, real things. Here, try this tool, implement this, practice in the present. Things that counselors, psychologists use with their clients and patients that they're taught, that we were taught, of me really saying, here's wrapped up in a tool strategy you can use right now. And it's like $1 a minute, seriously. So like, it's like $15 for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, right? And what we're finding in the research is people that do have insurance, even, your copay to see a mental health counselor, social workers, psychologist even, can range from good plans, $25 or so, 20 with really good plans, up to like $50. So at $50, 2 weeks out, once a week, right? And and you got to drive there. So add gas, add your time. It's expensive. And Dollar Mental Health Club, it's going to be an app as we start to develop. So it's app-based and web-based, but it's bringing that help to anybody too, right? So in January, not only are we bringing on mental health trainers or mental trainers, we're bringing on people that are helpers, right? That want to, we'll mail you a t-shirt and some cards and stuff. And with those cards, what you're able to do is, if you know somebody that needs to talk to somebody, not in a desperate crisis mode, but could utilize not therapy, not counseling, but strategies. Maybe they don't read books a lot, right? To where you can get it. People don't have time. But it's that kind of place where you can get strategies. And if you want to be one of those people, just email us, let us know. We'll mail you a shirt and some cards. And, it's 60% of the United States really is uninsured. And I'm venturing to say that they're not seeking the mental health help, and it's expensive. And practitioners on the other side, there's so many out there. The insurance has got you running through mazes. It gets ridiculous. So it's a paradigm shift. I'm passionate, as you see. I'm enthusiastic about Dollar Mental Health Club. It's how we're just trying to bring some help and some mental training, some coaching, some tools, to people that may not think they could ever get that, right? People a lot of times look at mental trainers or psychologists or therapists, which is not what we're doing, but as being this expensive thing to have in your life. And Dollar Mental Health Club is trying to not make it where you can have some of the best in the business and specialists at very certain topics. We have very specific topics and specialists there that you can talk to for, $15 a week, $30 a week, and when you're free. So that's coming in January. So that's what's it's just a lot, right? So between the revision of the book, the audiobook recording, Dollar Mental Health Club making the change and coming out and revisions, just so much going on. It's just a lot. And new guests, right? I could flip it around for you real quick. That's the board. Oh, I see. I can't show you real quick. That's top secret stuff. It's a long list though of, yeah, that's like, man, I can't wait. I get excited, but I've already explained it to you. Now you know why. I hope you're taking care of you. Hope you're living your cognitive rampage. Love you.